Howdy folks, today we're looking at how to replace the wick on a Glow Wick 240 paraffin heater from Sheds Direct Ireland. Before we begin, you will need a Phillips screwdriver, a 7mm spanner and pliers. We recommend that you do this wick replacement in a place that is well ventilated and away from open flames. We've placed down a puppy pad here to absorb any splashes. This is a manual process and it can be messy if you're not skilled or patient. Okay, first things first, you should only work on a heater that is cool and safe to work on. If it has been recently lit, it may be hot and dangerous to work on. So to begin, remove the batteries and lift out your tank. Store these somewhere safe. Now open the front and carefully remove the glass globe. Remember, this is glass and can shatter. Be very careful when you're handling this. Now pull off the dial at the front of the heater and you'll see how it attaches here. Keep note of this for later on when you'll be reapplying it. Now take your Phillips screwdriver and remove all the screws on the body of the unit. Again, keep these somewhere safe and easy to find. Once that's done, lift off the front panel of the heater first. The top section is then easily removed. You're into the main mechanism of the heater now. This is where the wick is, so first we need to disconnect the main igniter. Once that's done, use the 7mm spanner to remove 4 screws around the base of the wick. Once these have been removed, you can lift the shells straight up. You can now see the exposed wick in orange at the back there. Okay, so this is the piece that we need to be exact with, so we'll zoom in. Using your pliers, gently and very carefully pull out this clip here. Do not be overly forceful or aggressive with this. When you've done this, place the clip somewhere easy to find. Now, pull this bar straight out. It may make a small shunting noise when you do it. And once this is done, you can now cleanly lift up the wick. Be careful with this bit. If there's any fuel in the base of the heater, it will be absorbed into the base of the wick. Moving this around when it's very wet can cause it to drip if you're not careful with it. In this case, you can clearly see that the wick is totally dead too. It's burned right down to the base. Now, before we remove the old wick, it's worth noting that this line here lines up with this part right here. To remove the old wick, fold it in on top of itself and pinch it away from the internal spikes. Be careful at this stage with your fingers. Now, with the new wick in hands, pop it into the clasp here and line up the same as we did previously. Make sure it's even the whole way around. And carefully push the wick into the metal clasp so that the metal spikes grab into it. Once that's done, feed the wick over the head of the chamber. This can be a little bit fiddly. Slide it down and maneuver it around so that it's fully submerged in the fuel. Bring it down so that the clasp lines up to where we previously pulled out the clip from earlier on. Now we're just going in reverse. Push the bar back into where it came from, but make sure that the dial on the bar is under the one on the main unit, so that it'll pull it when it's rotated clockwise. From here, reattach the clip, and this may take a few goes. It's very important that it goes over this bar that's visible here. Rotate the dial to make sure that everything is working correctly. Test that the off button is also working at this stage too. If not, you have the bar facing the wrong side of the dial. You can now reattach the shell here. Make sure that this part slides over the fuel filter. Then reattach your screws, at first by hands, and then use the 7mm spanner to fully tighten. Reattach the fuel igniter too. You can now test that everything is working. Turn the dial, give it a little extra push to raise it up, and press the ignition to see it burn. If it doesn't, just check your batteries and then retry. We can now assemble the outer shell. Remember to take off the knob after your successful test before doing so. Place the main body on and reattach the screws. Line up the screws with the body so that they go in at the right points. Once that's done, take the front of the casing and reattach that. Pay attention to these tabs here and ensure that they click into place. Screw this piece back into place also. Reattach the front dial. Put back in the tank and the glass globe, and now you're finished with your wick install. Remember to leave enough time for your wick to soak in the fuel before lighting it up again. Remember, it's vitally important to let the wick soak for about 4 to 5 hours before lighting it. Lighting it up prematurely will just cause it to burn out and you're back to square one. Remember, we've wicks for all of the heaters that we sell here at Sheds Direct Ireland. ShedsDirectIreland.com. We're bleeding shedly.